Hi guys, story recaps here. Today, I am going to explain a 2009 science fiction drama horror film called Splice. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Clive Nicoli and Elsa Cast work for a business named Newstead and are professionals in the field of genetic engineering. The company undertakes a number of research involving the splicing of DNA from diverse species, in an attempt to create new life forms that can be used for therapeutic purposes. Clive and Elsa ultimately succeed in their quest after numerous failed tries. The two ugly animals are given the names Fred and Ginger by the couple as they marvel at their inventions. Both organisms were created with the intention of producing therapeutic proteins for animals. Clive and Elsa estimate that they can use the same splicing procedure they did for Fred on people after seeing the spectacular outcomes and possibilities their experiment contains. According to the two scientists, if properly performed, the procedure could be a miracle treatment for a variety of now incurable disorders, including Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. Their plan was rejected by their bosses, Joan Corrett and William Barlow, who prevented the young scientists from conducting human experiments since it could result in negative publicity for the corporation. Clive and Elsa make the decision to carry out their research in secrecy. After a few failed tries, the two finally succeed in creating a viable human-animal splice. Elsa decides to take the genetic material to the birthing chamber to begin the development of their creation, excited by their scientific breakthrough. Clive is opposed to the notion, but Elsa is enthusiastic about continuing the research because it could lead to a cure for a variety of human problems. She persuades Clive by telling him not to worry because the monster will be destroyed before it reaches full term, and no one will ever know. The conception sequence begins when Clive starts the machine. Later, Clive is conversing with one of his co-workers. Clive manages to avoid the young man's question about what he and Elsa are working on. Elsa, on the other hand, may be seen inspecting the incubator. She becomes concerned as the creature's heartbeat suddenly stops beating, but is quickly relieved when the heartbeat resumes. Elsa and Clive are sitting in their apartment after finishing work, discussing the possibility of relocating to a larger flat. The discussion continues, and the two discuss having children, which makes Elsa clearly nervous. An alert on Clive's phone interrupts their talk. They make a hasty trip to the lab. Despite being months away from its expected delivery, the fetus appears to be ready to emerge. Clive and Elsa try unsuccessfully to fix the machine and prevent the creature from being created, and Elsa injures her hand in the process. The creature is born, and Clive manages to imprison it inside a plastic container before it can escape and cause any more harm. He goes to rescue Elsa, who is convulsing and losing consciousness as a result of the creature's poison-infected wound. Clive injects her with medicine, and she returns to her previous state. Elsa and Clive find their way back to their apartment. Clive and Elsa are both severely shaken by the birth, with Clive suggesting that they should destroy their creation. Elsa reminds Clive that they can still learn a lot from this circumstance. Soon after, they both go to the lab to kill the creature, only to discover what looks to be a body in the incubator. Elsa investigates more and discovers that, while the incubator contains a large amount of dead tissue, the creature's complete body is missing. She hears small, quick footsteps approaching her very instantly. She is greeted by a little, chicken-like creature who leaves an impression on her. Elsa and Clive are able to knock the monster out and begin studying it, only to discover that it can exude poison despite the fact that it lacks a predatory gene in its DNA. As the creature's life progresses, it becomes clear that the organism is fast aging as a result of its flawed DNA. Later that night, Clive meets with Barlow, who informs him that if the therapeutic proteins from Ginger and Fred cannot be sold, Newstead would be in serious danger, and Clive and Elsa will be held responsible. After a month, the creature has grown to be rather enormous. It can be assumed that it has the IQ of a human child based on its behavior. To Clive's dismay, Elsa develops a bond with the creature, treating it more like a kid than a laboratory experiment. Elsa decided to name the creature Dren, which is nerd spelled backwards, as the monster made nerd out of toys after seeing the company's name on Elsa's shirt. Elsa and Clive have a disagreement over Elsa's handling of Dren. Their experiment appears to be in danger of being discovered, as their lab is slated to be rebuilt, potentially allowing someone to witness their banned experiment. Gavin, Clive's lab brother and a fellow college student, sneaks into the room to eavesdrop on their chat, but unintentionally stumbles into Dren. He hastily departs the area, terrified. Clive and Elsa plan to slip Dren out in a card box and hide her in a storage area away from inquisitive eyes in order to keep her a secret. Dren, much to their dismay, has a very high temperature, which Elsa is very concerned about. Dren's fever was promptly relieved by Elsa and Clive putting her in a cold water bath. When Clive submerges Dren, it is revealed that the creature has questionable lungs. Elsa looks after Dren that night, giving him a Barbie doll she had to hide from her mother when she was a child. Dren has grown to be substantially larger over time, taking on a more human, womanly aspect. Dren can be seen surreptitiously watching Elsa and Clive from the next room, as they play around and end up having intercourse on the couch. Clive and Elsa introduce their original hybrid creations, Fred and Ginger, to the public the following day. Unfortunately, the show goes horribly wrong as the two animals become incredibly violent and battle to the death. Clive and Elsa investigated the problem and discovered that Ginger had changed into a man. Elsa and Clive decide to relocate Dren to an old farmhouse owned by Elsa's mother. Dren dashes off to fetch some food when they arrive at the farm. Elsa and Clive head to the home after setting up Dren's room in the barn. When they enter the door, they are greeted by a filthy room with a bed, a solitary chair, and a bucket, indicating that Elsa was raised in an abusive atmosphere. Dren, on the other hand, is dissatisfied with her existence on the farm. Dren gets defiant as her makers are constantly out at work, leaving her with only a cat to keep her company, which Clive accepts nicely, although Elsa is extremely worried. Elsa resolves to stay at home and keep Dren company in order to keep him at bay. Elsa lavishes makeup and jewelry on Dren to make her happy. When Elsa looks through the cosmetics table, she notices that there are countless drawings of Clive but none of her. Dren becomes agitated by Elsa's discovery and flees to her cat, which Elsa takes away, informing Dren that she can't have everything she wants because growing up is a part of life. When Clive gets home, he notices Dren is depressed and tries to cheer her up by playing music and dancing with her. Clive had prohibited feelings for Dren while dancing, and he quickly realized that Elsa had used pieces of her DNA in the creation of Dren. He confronts Elsa, the two fight, and Clive flees. Elsa resolves to return Dren the cat she had taken away after Clive has left, but Dren kills it, prompting Elsa to hit Dren across the face. Dren rushed on Elsa in order for her to grab the barn keys and flee, but she was knocked out and strapped to an operating table. Elsa begins to remove Dren's jewelry and clothing, as well as her stinger, because to her violent conduct. When Clive arrives, Elsa returns to the lab with the stinger in order to locate and produce the protein she needs for her research. Clive travels to the farm the next day to meet Elsa, but is met by Dren, who tries to seduce him. Clive first refuses, but eventually gives in to Dren's advances and the two have sexual relations. During the performance, it can be seen that Dren's previously amputated stinger has grown back. Elsa comes in on them much to Clive's chagrin, and flees in disgust. Clive rushes over to her, and the two of them get into their car and go back to their old apartment, where they argue about Elsa's feelings about Dren. Elsa wanted to create a child, rather than have a typical child, because she badly desired control over the child, a need that she most likely developed as a result of her harsh childhood. When they return to the home after their disagreement, they discover Dren dead in her bed. Dren's body is buried, and her garments are burned. Elsa discovers Dren's sketches of herself while relocating Dren's belongings. Gavin and Barlow arrive there after learning about Elsa and Clive's secret. Dren reappears, now looking more masculine, implying that Dren, like Ginger, has transitioned into the opposing gender. Dren goes enraged, killing Barlow and Gavin before snatching Clive. Elsa tries to flee into the woods, but not for long, as Dren quickly catches up with her. Dren pounces on Elsa, pinning her to the ground and forcing intercourse with her, but Clive intervenes with a branch from behind, impaling Dren. Dren assaults Clive, prompting Elsa to throw a boulder at his head, killing the beast for good. Elsa remains a Newstead employee as a result of all of this, and she has been given permission to continue her research into the proteins found in Dren's body. She is plainly pregnant when she stands up, hinting to the potential that she is carrying Dren's child. Subscribe and turn on the notifications. We daily upload videos like this.